Hello everyone, the Vern here, Cinema Recall Podcast. I'll be really brief with this introduction. I'm recording this on my phone. Now, this episode was recorded previously for our Patreon supporters there. Of course, that website is patreon.com/cinemarecallpod. And I brought on with me my good buddy and friend, Donnie Roberts, who wrote the book, The Deep Sea Anthologies, to talk about the creature feature Alligator starring Robert Forster. And me and Donnie had a hell of a time talking about that show, and I hope you have as much fun listening to it as we had recording it. So, as you know, Ashley is sick right now, so we were able to record our live show like we usually do, but we did manage to release an episode, and all of you have been amazing retweeting and sharing that episode, so I'm going to give some people just a quick shout out right now for helping us out. So no special order, I want to give a thank you to It Goes Down in the PM, The Gruesome Twosome, That Song from That Movie, Invasion of the Remake, The Saturday Morning Podcast, Podtastic Audio, Via VHS, Debatable Podcast, Shots and Applaud, Shoot the Flick, I Scream, You Scream for Movies, Coffee and Comments, Soundtrack Your Life, Rate My Movies Podcast, Good Data Podcast, Science Fiction Remnants, Amity Talk, Digital Dissension, a Nerd Podcast, Film Shake, the 90s Movie Podcast, Ebony, the Podcast That Wouldn't Die, Wheel of Horror Podcast, The After Movie Diner, Pedestrian at Best, Two Idiots and a Dog, The Crime and Dinner Podcast, Tim from First Time Watchers, Your Next Favorite Movie, and also the Film Rage Podcast. Now, at the end of the show, you're going to hear an ad spot from our Good Data Podcast, but before the show begins, I'm going to play an ad spot from our good friends of Film Rage. So I hope you guys check that stuff out there. It's really great. Okay, so going forward with the show, I know that we will be talking with our good buddy Ariel Kutsi from the Mouse Pod. Now, Ariel, like I said from Mouse Pod, her show and our show is available every Sunday on Full Swap Radio's Vanilla Sunday. Of course, the website is fullswapradio.com, and they have a whole bunch of like great shows, usually dealing like with like kink and fetishes, but we're available on the Vanilla Sunday platform. Big shout out here to Nikki from Dear Nikki for getting us hooked up with this network. It's really great. And also, I should tell you folks right now that they are involved in this contest with the ASN Awards for, I believe, if I'm reading this right now, so they have a chance to have, so they made the list for top 5 podcasts for supporting businesses, and apparently you can help us show the station some love. So I'm going to put a link in the show notes so that you guys can go to Full Swap Radio and just give them a quick little vote right there, because if you vote for them, that helps our show as well. So they're available, they're being nominated right now for an ASN award, and I wish Full Swap Radio a bunch of love and support. So definitely check that out right there. And yeah, I think that near the end of the show, I'm going to give a shout out to all of our wonderful Patreon supporters right there, so make sure you listen to the end for that. And we're going to get into our conversation talking about Alligator, and I hope you enjoy this show very much. And we're playing that spot right now from the Film Rage Podcast. Don't forget to follow us on everything right now on Twitter at cinema_recall. Don't forget about our website, cinemarecall.net. If you're listening to us on iTunes or it's Apple, that's right, it's Apple Podcast or Podchaser or Good Pods, leave us a rating and review. It really helps all the show much here, and I cannot say how grateful and thankful I am to have everyone here as a listener, and love you much. And that's all I gotta say right now. Here's the show. Enjoy. Goodbye.
It's time to feel the rage. Join us on Film Rage, where we talk movies, current releases, coming attractions, streaming, and classic films as well. Directors and actors beware, as you cannot hide from the rage. My name is Bryce, and I'm part of the Film Rage crew, which also includes Jim.
Hey, hey.
And Murray.
Yo.
Why is it you always talk all the time? I can't understand why your voice is so...
This is the Merman, the voice of reason. These two can't agree on anything most of the time. Some movies are Mondo, some are just... Every week, something is going to make us rage. Join us every Wednesday and
feel the rage.
This podcast may contain adult language, adult situations, spoilers, and some brief nudity, so parental guidance is suggested.
We have such sights to show you.
After about 5 minutes of this movie, you're gonna wish you had 10 beers.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
So,
What would you little maniacs like to do first?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Oh, well, la-di-da, la-di-da, la-la, yeah.
Welcome back to the Cinema Recall Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this bonus episode of the Cinema Recall Podcast. I'm your host, The Vern. Ashley is away right now, but she's not on these bonus episodes. You know these bonus episodes. They are with my good buddy and friend, Mr. Donnie Roberts. Welcome back to the show, sir.
Greetings and salutations.
How have you been?
I have been surviving, and that is the most I can say.
I think everyone right now is just kind of surviving right now.
And it's funny, too, because we're all supposed to be getting kind of back on track to a normalcy, and that's more like surviving than before.
That's true. Yeah. I noticed that theaters are becoming more and more open, and that's both good and bad to me.
Yeah, I'm kind of still at war with some people about how I feel about theaters, but that's an entire discussion itself for another day.
I completely understand that feeling there, bud. But we are looking at a movie that I kind of wish I maybe saw in theaters because this was a pretty fun feature. Not perfect, but goddamn pretty fun. We are discussing 1980s Alligator, starring Robert Forster.
Yes.
Now, the thing with Robert Forster, Donnie, is that I've only seen this cat in Jackie Brown, and he was a brief stint in the movie Mulholland Drive.
Yep.
And I know I think he was featured on a few TV shows, and I'm just totally blanking on the names of those right now. How did you...
Go ahead.
Oh, maybe you had the shows that I'm thinking of. I thought maybe you'd get into my head and like...
Well, I'm kind of thinking maybe I can get in your head a little because thanks to my sister and her loving abstract films and weird things, I remembered him from Twin Peaks.
Yes.
And Twin Peaks, and also, which I know we'll probably get into later, Breaking Bad as well.
Oh, okay. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, he kind of popped in and out. He was kind of the guy Walter went to for when he had to go and vanish with his new identity, and same with Saul Goodman.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Man, he's been around. He's done that, and I think I can't remember because my brain is still waking up, but I think he played either an agent or I think it was an agent on the show Heroes, because it has been forever and a day since I've seen that show, and every time I think about the show, I just keep remembering Zachary Quinto more than anyone else. So,
well, I mean, the man had like over 189 acting credits. But I do remember on the original Jackie Brown DVD, not the Blu-ray, but the DVD, they would actually have trailers, TV spots and radio spots of both Jackie Brown and Robert Forster. They went through his filmography in trailer form.
Oh man!
And like listed all of his like old movies from like the late 70s to the 80s. And I do remember seeing a little thing of this movie Alligator.
Yeah.
And I remember the trailer for it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of a strange thing. But let me ask you this, Donnie. When did you first come across the movie Alligator?
As a freaking kid when we rented it in a video store. And it's just one of those, I saw the poster art for this, and I'm like, oh, this looks awesome. And it's one of those, it really stuck with me as a kid, because I'm like, this is so cool. They're going to an alligator farm, and they're watching a guy try to wrestle an alligator unsuccessfully, but most importantly, they're able to buy baby alligators, and I wanted one so bad, but we lived in California. That was not possible.
Yeah. So this movie was directed by Louis Teague, who also directed the movies Cat's Eye, Cujo, and Jewel of the Nile, the sequel to Romancing the Stone. And the only thing I knew about from Jewel of the Nile, because it's been a long time since I've seen the movie, is that music video that Billy Ocean did with Kathleen Turner, Michael Douglas, and Danny DeVito. The go would get tough, the tough kid going. And they're all singing and dancing with him. And I'm like, this is the most ridiculous thing ever. But it's been a long time since I've seen Jewel of the Nile.
There are wonderful things and horrible things that came out of that time period.
That's true. And here's the cool thing, too. It was written by John Sayles, who wrote Piranha, Brother from Another Planet, and The Howlin'. So I thought that was kind of a cool thing. This is my first time seeing the movie. The only thing I knew about this movie was the image of an alligator busting out of the street.
Yes.
That's the only thing I had in mind with this movie. Now, we're going to discuss this movie, but we're not going to go into every single scene. But I definitely got to discuss the beginning of this movie because I have to hear you react to this, because you should have seen my reaction to this, because I'm watching this movie and the very first scene is this crowd gathering to watch this guy wrestle an alligator.
Yeah.
This big, huge event. And the guy gets attacked and gets bitten by an alligator. There's this little girl, and after she sees this horrific event of a guy getting mauled by an alligator, her first thought is to buy a baby alligator. Explain this to me, Donnie. Why?
I actually had a headcanon for this. Because, like, you know what happens soon after when she gets this? The mother is like, oh, this is so cute. Sure, let's go ahead and get you Ramon the alligator. And then immediately after, her father is the one that's pissed off about her having this and decides, goodbye, Ramon, flushes him down a toilet. I really think maybe she was plotting to use the alligator to grow it up and have it kill her father. Because I'm like, I don't know why the mom would be so behind this, but the dad, just for no reason, seems so mad that she has this, because he's just going off the deep end for some reason. They don't really go into it. And suddenly it's, you're going down the sewer system with all the other alligators in New York City.
And the weird thing, too, is that I really thought that the person who was the little girl in this, grew up to be the scientist, the love interest, played by Robin Riker.
Yeah, that actually would have made sense, but no, unfortunately.
Because there's a scene later on when Robert Forster's character meets her mother, and her mother just seems to be a lot like the mother of that little kid.
Did. Yeah.
There's no father around, so I think those two probably did kill the father. And
it's possible. It's their dirty little secret.
Change their names to, not get detected and be arrested, maybe.
Yes, and this is why the mom kept mentioning she had an evil eye. And
yeah. So the alligator gets flushed down the toilet and is living in the river. Now, there's this other weird subplot going on here, and I had to actually write this down so things made sense to me, is that there's a plot going on with this scientist who is using these hormones into pets, and he's getting all of his pets from this pet store owner, and then asking the pet store owner to dispose of the bodies. So I guess they're testing these ingredients and medication on these animals, and if they don't work out, the pet guy's got to dump them.
Yep.
Okay, and these are like full-grown animals. That's a big thing too. Like, these animals are going missing, and then when they're found, they're bigger.
You get the great scene of the guy, the dog catcher, going around looking at these dogs that are owned by people and just trying to pick out ones he can nab off the street. And
and I guess apparently there's this big higher corporation that's trying to keep the secret. What is this corporation all about? Why are they using this stuff, and why is it being so secretive? I guess the 80s and the big thing about big corporation being bad, but I don't know what they do.
It's kind of a combination of that. It's like you're right on track. It is partly because big corporations, bad people, but also was a time when animal experimentation was a big hot topic issue, and it's kind of why they just, like other things at the time, they just kind of use it as, this is a good excuse to do this. Yeah. Because their main excuse for doing this actually was because of all the stories you heard moving to New York of people saying, there are alligators down there. And every time they try telling people realistically they aren't, they're like, well, technically they can't live down there, but there is things down there they could eat, so it's technically possible they could survive.
Technically.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so this pet store owner, he looks familiar. This guy who's a pet store owner guy, he looks very familiar. I feel like I've seen him before in other things, and I just cannot really put his name to face, but he looks very familiar. I know I've seen him in other things, but...
Well, the one I kept remembering, just because I had to grow up with the films, even which just came out in 4K today, or not today, but a while ago, was Michael Gazzo playing the police chief. And he was in the Godfather films, and there's... Oh, man, this is just one of those films that if I had to go back and watch again, I'd know the name of the guy you're talking about. I just can't. Like, my mind is trying to reel through and picture him again.
You're right. I did recognize the police chief from being in The Godfather. He had a very small part in The Godfather, if I imagine right.
Yes, yes.
He's definitely part of the Corleone crime family, but not a person... Yeah, he's not a person that had a lot of, speaking parts, but you definitely would recognize him.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think. Maybe the person you're thinking of was Sidney Lessick. He was in the Jack Nicholson film, The One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. But
that could be. I don't know why, but the person that I'm thinking of right now, and it's not him at all, but he just kind of reminds me of that character. He reminds me of the character from Frankenhooker. The balding guy.
Yes. Oh my God, you're
right.
Who
actually has his head exploded, and he's like, "That's wonderful." I know it's not the same guy, and I'll use this right now to bet. Oh, don't you idiots from this movie here? Don't you know this shit? So, anyway, that pet store owner, he has some dogs. He's got to take to the sewer. He dumps them down the sewer, and then, like an idiot, he actually has to go down into the water. And I don't know what he's trying to do with the bodies. He's like trying to push it further down the canal.
Yeah, he's just trying to make sure they really, really get lost in the sewer, which makes no sense when the sewer already is like a maze itself.
Yeah, and plus, if there's a dead dog down there, no one's going to really connect it back to you. They're just going to say, hey, that's a dead dog in that river.
Yeah.
Bait. But hey, it gives us our first kill. We have the Jaws music, the electronic Jaws music going on, which I absolutely loved. And we did the point of view of the alligator as it chomps down on the guy. But here's the weird thing too about Alligator, Donnie, is that I kind of feel like there's somewhat two movies with this film, because we have our story about our main detective, David Madsen, played by Robert Forster. And apparently there's like this string of murders happening.
Yeah.
Where I guess people are being mauled and no one has no idea what's happening. And he just seems to be this grizzled guy who wants to be fired. He doesn't really like his job that much. I can kind of imagine him being the guy at the bar, smoking a cigarette, just talking about how this company and how detective has went downhill since the corporations took over. And I just find it odd that there's like this string of what looks like easily animal mutilations, but they don't know what it is right away.
Yeah.
Oh.
It kind of reminds me of another film that came out like 5 years later, The Stuff, where it had almost the same type of feel, where that also had like another entirely different subplot going on with Michael Moriarty's character and the corporation that he was working for, and then him just getting slowly sucked into this thing of what's going on with this product. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was a thing back then, because I noticed the same too, and I wondered, where is this going to go? How's this going to tie together? But it doesn't matter. We got an alligator.
Well, that's the weird thing too. Is like the beginning of the movie with that little kid and their parents or their dad flushing the alligator down the toilet. I would not put that in the movie. I would start the movie with Robert Forster waking up, grabbing a pack of smokes, going into work and, solving this mystery about these mutilated bodies. Like, you just know that there's body parts being cut off. You're not quite sure how they're being removed. You just know that something's happening. And
just something like Seven, akin to that.
Like, I would still call the movie Alligator, but maybe not showing an alligator. Like, I would use like a tattoo of an alligator. And so you're thinking this could be a human doing these things. Maybe it's a cannibal movie. We don't know for sure.
Man.
All right.
I gotta stop watching shitty shark movies because there is one where there is a man who is a great white shark killer. But the thing is, he's a serial killer who kills people with the teeth of great white sharks and the jaws of a shark. And I'm just thinking, as soon as you say there's a man with an alligator tattoo, it's like, please don't tell me he's using an alligator head to kill people. But I would pay to see a man running down the streets with an alligator head on his head.
Oh, 100%. Here's the thing too. So in the movie, David, and I had to write these things down here. So David Madsen has a new partner, named, is it Billy? Oh gosh, yeah. I think his name played by Robert Doyle, who's like this blonde-haired guy. And I remember one scene too. He was saying, people say that I should be teamed up with you because you're bad news, but you know what? I can handle myself. And so they're hearing about, there's something going on. So after the pet store owner gets killed, those two go into the sewers to find out what's happening. They're trying to gather clues, and that's where they meet our good friend. I guess, what was the alligator's name again? Ronnie?
Ramon.
Ramon. And here's the weird thing too, is that they just met. I'm pretty sure those two characters just met and they started working together. And after the alligator gets them, or during the chase, and they're trying to go up into the sewers, trying to go up to the street, the alligator grabs them. Our poor lead character, he's just shooken by the fact that his friend got eaten by an alligator. And I'm like, you just met this guy. I'm pretty sure you were just working today, and now he's suddenly like your best friend. I mean, this would have been a great buddy cop moment if you would have established that these two were friends for a while.
Yeah, even if he was like resentful to him, like, where have you been? I got here before you, and just your usual buddy cop thing.
Yeah, just something. But there's even moments too where the guy's having nightmares about him. I'm like, how?
Yeah.
Like, you just met this guy. This is ridiculous.
He's just tied in there. He's just shoehorned into his PTSD with the alligator attack.
But I will say this though. I mean, even if they were good friends, I'm sorry, but David, you were not going up that manhole fast enough. Or maybe you were stuck.
No.
I don't know. But it didn't seem like you were just... It seemed like you kind of just stopped.
Yeah, there was room for two up there. It would have been cozy, but there was definitely room.
Exactly. He could at least got up a little bit more. He could have climbed up there. I think he was just kind of waiting for the alligator to chomp down on him, because he's like, you know what? It's fine to have, a buddy picture in this, but I need a love interest in this, all right?
Yes.
So you died to Eaton, so my character can have kindness to him. And then he meets up with this, I guess, scientist who's good with lizards, played by Robin Riker. And I have no idea who Robin Riker is. I'm actually right now looking up her filmography as we speak. And I know she was in episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And she was also in... she's in a movie called Psycho Granny. Okay.
Yes.
Well, you say yes like you've seen this before.
I have.
Oh, okay.
I used to rent out every horror film in our little VHS place. It was a kid. And I have so many fond memories, especially if the movies had really awesome cover art. And
all right.
That movie has it.
Well, geez. All right. Well, all right. A-Team. She's done mostly just TV series stuff. Highway to Heaven, Empty Nest,
Days of Our Lives.
Yeah. All right. Shoot. I think I remember her as being the teacher that was like a lizard that ate kids in like the first season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that was her. There was like this episode, kids, if you don't know, there's an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer where there was like this alien who could turn into a snake, and she seduces this one kid and turns into a snake, and yeah, so there you go with that.
Yeah.
But getting back into Alligator, so after Robert Forster's character has these nightmares, and apparently you'll have to remind me again kind of like the plot structure of this, because afterwards I guess they try to flush the alligator out of the sewer.
They try to flush him from the sewer, and
and that goes wrong. The alligator's still there, and then we get one of my favorite sequences is when the alligator busts out of the street.
Yes.
That moment of the head coming through. The kids are playing like baseball in the street, and this alligator just comes busting out. I'm like, that is an amazing shot. And kudos to the special effects on this. Because it's practical effect. Yeah. It's not perfect, but the alligator walking around. And explain this to me, because you've seen this more than once. I need just some clarification on this, Donnie. The little blonde-haired kid who runs into his home. His mom's on the phone talking to someone. He grabs a knife. It's not a big, huge knife. I mean, it's a decent sized knife. And I guess he's going to chase after the alligator. Why?
Yeah, that kid had no fucks to give. He was going at it.
But then we don't really show anything that happens with him anymore. He just goes ahead and eats a few people down the road. And then there's also, and this is the
there's
character,
the alligator hunter as well.
yeah, who is he? I thought, I had no idea he was an alligator hunter. I just thought he worked for the police force.
Yeah.
That Robert Forster,
special person brought in and that type of thing. Yeah.
See, I thought he was his boss. I thought he was like the head commissioner, police chief.
I remember being so funny how he ends up meeting his end and nobody wants to help him, but also his awkward semi-flirting of I'm going to make all the awkward alligator noises I can to this woman to her face. And it's like that's a thing that happens in this. And again, it's kind of one of those not subplot things, but just side characters that's given so much like presence and attention, and then he's gone.
Yeah, I know, right?
But maybe also the reason we didn't see what happened to that kid with the knife is because we get another rarity in films like this involving kids.
True. I will definitely get into that moment with the other kid, but the alligator hunter. Mm-hmm. So he hires these three men to find the alligator with them.
Yeah,
and he bribes them with money. Does he tell them like, "Hey, we gotta like chase an alligator"? He just starts bribing them money to come with them somewhere.
Yeah,
that's all I heard in the dialogue.
Yeah, he doesn't really say anything specific except I'll give you guys money. You just gotta come around with me and look around streets. Like, oh, hell yeah, we'll do that for money. And
yeah,
then he just had to go off and be a brazen ass.
It seems like everyone could kind of run away from this alligator, but he seems to be kind of coming towards the alligator.
He made the alligator's work a lot easier.
Alligator's like, I'm just tired. You just come to my mouth. Just make things easier for me. Just come here. I'm old and I'm lazy, okay? So please just help me out with this.
Yes, exactly.
And then we do get the moments where I guess there are these kids at a birthday party.
Yes.
And few of them decide to play pirates and have one of the kids walk the plank. And so they go to the swimming pool, and the kids going up to the diving board, walk down the diving board. The two kids are like, all right, why do you want the plank, matey? And he gets to the end, and he looks down and sees just the alligator just smiling, just waiting. And he's like, no, please, no. And the kids push him in. Yeah. And he's trying to escape, but nope, that shirt, but alligator's right there. And I know this is a reference to the kid from the first Jaws.
Yeah.
Getting eaten. But there's something a little bit more glorious that these two other kids kind of pushed this kid to his own death. I don't know why.
Yes, exactly. Like, even after the kid's freaking out, like, we don't care. See ya, lols.
Yeah, so you're like, all right, well.
It's like, this is one of those scenes, like, as a kid, this scared the crap out of me because we had a huge-ass swimming pool that I was already afraid of going anywhere near the deep end. And
oh, yeah.
even my sister, talking to her about the film Alligator, it's like, that's one of the first things that pops in her head, too. She's like, isn't that the one where the kid died? I'm like, yeah, it is.
Oh, shout out to Linda Castro from Bedknobs and Broomflits. Didn't say that earlier when you mentioned a name about the weird obscure stuff, but just gotta give her a shout out. So, hi, Linda. Yeah, 100%. I could totally understand how this would scare you, and I'm sure as a kid, it would terrify me. And it's pretty. I mean, there's a lot of blood, but not as enough gore. I mean, the weird thing
there
too
really isn't. Yeah.
There's alligator chopping down on body parts, but it's like being at a noir show or a puppet show where
yes, exactly,
things are chomping on you, and you can tell that it's clearly a puppet.
Yeah,
but
well, that's the thing too. They had like a full size alligator head that they would use for the chomping. They had a puppet alligator. And then for like the city shots and other things, they just used a small baby alligator because that was, I guess, the thing with the alligators. You never knew how big they were going to get. So that's why they use them in a lot of films. It has miniature monsters.
Okay. Well, that's kind of cool. Yeah, I thought when the alligator's like walking down the street or he was like was walking in the sewers, I'm like, that's not bad. If that's an actual puppet or a baby alligator, I would have no idea because it looked like a pretty convincing because this alligator is supposed to be like 30 foot.
Yeah.
Sucker, like this huge, like alligator's not supposed to be as big as alligator gets in this movie. And I found it to be great. So besides the alligator busting out the street and eating people there, that's cool. But it's also dark and the lighting is fine. But what I really want to see is alligators chomping on people during the daylight. And I'm so glad that we got this near the end of the movie.
Right?
This is at a
so cool.
This is at like a big luncheon that our head corporate bad guys are hosting.
Yeah, it's the corporate bad guys are hosting. I think it was a luncheon or a wedding is what it looked like. Yeah.
I think so. And the alligator just strolls up there. I almost want the alligator to wear like a bow tie.
Yeah, just blend in, put a little tray of drinks on his head.
It would have been great too if the alligator did walk up to the gate with the security guards on there, and I want those guys to just really just stand there. But wait, do you see what I see? I think so. Is that an alligator? Yeah, he's got a bow tie on. I know, it's so weird. And the alligator just slowly walks up, and I just want a scene where both the alligator just stands there, doesn't say anything. The two security guys at the gate don't say anything either. They're still looking at each other. And then just about after like a minute or so, 2 minutes or so with just like nothing's happening, alligator just attacks.
I was thinking you were going to go with like they just open the door and let the alligator in.
That would be even better.
You tell him no.
I'm not saying anything, will you? And he says, excuse me, sir, do you have a name? The alligator just roars and, I don't see your name on the list, buddy. And then chomp or something like that. Yeah. But just having these bunch of rich a-holes like flying around, getting chomped on, it's just great. And then our head lead bad guy, who is this bald, very much trying to be like Lex Luthor meets Daddy Warbucks type of guy. He's in the car. He's trying to escape in his limo, and the alligator is just gonna just trash that limo. Uses his tails, everything.
He even starts beating a person against the window of the car.
Yeah. I mean, I know the alligator is, a strong thing too, but the way that tail can somehow wrap around and hit the windshield dead on. I mean, he just destroyed that car, and I think he does eat the guy at the end inside, right? He does.
Yeah.
Okay. He gets him, and so apparently our two lead characters, who of course have developed a romantic relationship with each other, which always happens in these movies. They've actually do make their way to the place, and apparently the alligator goes back into the sewer, which I don't understand why. Why, alligator? You're out free. You're a freaking giant alligator. You do not need to go back into the sewer.
Right?
But maybe he's thinking I can use the sewers to travel around and go into different cities. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, like an alien. He's using the air ducts to get around, or it's like, this is my home. I had my adventure. Time to nap.
Yeah, see? Yeah. Plus, after you eat a big meal like that, you gotta relax for a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
That was like that dinner lunch right there. That might have been like Thanksgiving. Every time you eat big meals, you gotta take a little nap. So they go into the sewers, and they got this string of dynamite. They're going to explode the alligator with this. So our lead guy, Robert Forster, goes in there, confronts the alligator, has the alligator chase him, and he's going to run up to the sewers to escape. But lo and behold, right when he goes up into the street area, someone parks their car on the manhole. And it's an old lady because there's a garbage truck blocking the way. And I gotta say this, the way that they really, I guess, build up this movie through its runtime, because the movie's 90 minutes, folks. And yet no scene seems to be wasted in this. There's not one moment of lull time, except for maybe the date and stuff that happens between our two lead characters, because, you gotta get some plot description there. But other than that, it's not so bad. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the very last section? Also, if I interrupted you, the last thoughts on the whole people being eaten scene and the last scenes of the movie where the guy's trying to escape.
Honestly, I really enjoyed a lot of that, because it's just movies back then kind of had that where you had directors using every scene of film they had, because you really didn't have much you could waste. And it's a fun way to look at it is there's a nice little movie in this B movie. It's like, especially with the tension they build and everything leading up to this ticking time bomb, literally time bomb going on, before they're able to actually escape and get out just in time when everything's going off. And it was a really nice bookend to everything going on. But even if you watch it today for the first time, it's like it still holds its pace, but you can kind of see with a filmmaker's eye that, okay, it was kind of rushing along to this point, because the movie, like a lot of those typically back then did, just ends. But it's like you get your good ending, you get the hero being happy, he gets the girl, the terror's gone until the sequel, which is not as good as the original one.
Oh man!
And I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. I liked the setup. I loved the exploding alligator bits. That was great. And
wait,
when
there's a sequel?
Yes, there is.
Okay,
it's called Alligator: The Mutation, I believe is what it is. And
okay, hold on for that for just like one brief second, okay, Donnie? Because, but I totally agree with what you're saying too, because you're watching this, that's a creature feature, it involves a big giant alligator, and most movies, they would just focus on just the alligators, and I'm really kind of glad that John Sayles, the writer, actually put in more character development with our lead character played by Robert Forster. And I like the fact that he actually, had a good friend, and he's a guy who felt kind of jaded by a police force and didn't really want to be the hero, and then these things happen to him. He has a character growth. He meets a woman that he loves very much and wants to do right for her, and at the same time help himself out too in the process. And I really enjoyed that very much of it, because when I first watched this movie, I thought, I'm going to get a bunch of dumb characters who I can't wait to get eaten. And there are characters like this that I want to get eaten, and they do. Like the guy who kills the pets, he gets eaten. The guy who's performing the scientific experiments on these animals, does he get eaten? I don't think he does.
No, I don't believe he does, no.
And he's one that I really want to get eaten, because, you're doing all these things to animals and then just disposing of them. No, fuck you. You're an asshole. You deserve to get chomped. And I really wanted that little kid to at least that little kid, that
Show
blonde haired
up.
kid,
Yeah.
to find the alligator. Not saying he would kill him. I just want him to just run up to him and be like, "Oh shit, this was a bad idea. What the hell was I doing?"
They could have even had him come in at the end and get really upset that they finally like killed the alligator. It's exploded, and he has his little knife. Like, oh man, and just tosses it and pouts and takes off.
I was so close to this. Goddamn it! So,
But I gotta tell you, I know I told you to keep an eye out in the credits for a particular name. And it's funny because I've just been kind of giggling, especially when you said you love the effects in this. But did you catch the person that was in the credits that may have surprised you?
no, I did not. I'm sorry.
It's a production assistant, and it was one of his very first jobs, Bryan Cranston. And
From Breaking Bad?
He served as the production assistant, and he also joked that he was the assistant to the assistant's assistant, because he actually got to work on and help with the special effects. Like when the alligator explodes, he was one of the people chosen to go and stuff the thing full of packets of fake blood. And he had to cook pasta that they used to make alligator guts and combine that with Caro syrup and food dye to make blood bags to blow this thing up. And it's he loves it. This is one of his first big things. This is how he met Robert Foster. And oh god, I laughed so hard when I saw that. And they put out a 4K version of this recently that has a whole interview with him talking about this. And sadly he's not on the commentary for this, but oh man, the commentary itself is just awesome.
Oh, that would be epic enough to pick it up for that. But wow, what a small world. You have no idea where one job is going to lead to you be the star of a hit series like Breaking Bad. That's very cool.
Yeah. And I had to ask too with the effects. I kind of caught it just out of the corner of my eye, but did you notice that the flashlights they were using in the sewer had lenses on them?
No,
it's really weird when they're in the sewer. When they start turning the flashlights to the left and right, you can see they actually have like a fitted to the front of them little lenses and filters.
Is that because if you use lenses on films,
yes, and it was, I believe, to help with the lighting shooting down there. But it's just one of those. It's like a neat trick. But I never noticed that until you actually see them waving the things left and right, and you're like, why is that thing sitting away from the flashlight?
That's not a bad idea, especially for, I guess, younger filmmakers who need to shoot a neat scene and using flashlights so it doesn't leave a glare on the film. I imagine that's why they did that.
Well, and again, it's just kind of one of those back-in-time type filmmaking things when people had to find practical solutions to practical problems, and you didn't have CGI you could rely on for things like that, or CGIing your own day for night and putting in night shots and smoke and stuff like that. And
jeez.
I almost fear what an Alligator remake today would look like, but it's still would it still hold the same? It's hard to say. So I still know I would see it.
I want to hear really quickly about Alligator 2, the mutation.
No, you don't.
I don't.
It was really a bad sequel. There was nobody in it from the original that I remember. You can buy it if you want to see it, or you can rent it on Amazon. But even as a kid, I saw this like, oh, this is going to be so cool. Maybe it had babies, and they're going to be killer babies, and yeah, it's going to be awesome. But it was one of those horror sequels where it had almost nothing to do with the original. It's just a Troll 2 with alligators. Let's just throw this in there and call it good. Yeah. Kind of like Jaws 3 is just Jaws 3 because it has to deal with a mother and her baby. But it doesn't have anything to do with the shark that had scars in Jaws the Revenge.
Oh gosh. Yeah, actually, I mean, the alligator, it ends in that cliffhanger because another person flushes the alligator down the sewers. And I think this, like you said before the beginning, this is like a trend of people, I guess families were buying baby alligators and then flushing them down the toilet when they got to be a little bit too big.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because that still just boggles my mind, knowing that this was an actual thing, that you could go to like Florida and New York, places like that, and circuses would sell these little animals. And You're just thinking, you know those things are going to grow into stuff that are going to chomp you down, right?
Yeah. And what do you do with it, though? Yeah, I mean, and most zoos are not going to take this big giant alligator, and yeah.
I know, and I don't know what you would do with them, but still, I have to say there is a pet store here, the Red Barn, and you can actually buy piranha from them.
Wow.
So, yeah, there's that.
Oh, jeez. Okay. All right. All right. Well, on that note there, let's get your ratings and final thoughts about Alligator 1980.
Oh man, I kind of want to go 4.5 stars on this because it really was, like you said, it's a very tight film. Everything keeps moving. You're not bored. All the scenes are there for a reason, and it serves the story. So it's a very nice little, you'll watch it, it's over, you'll enjoy yourself film. But it's still, yeah, the romance was kind of, it's like it's there, but it's like they didn't really build much on it. You didn't build much with the cop and his partner. It's just automatically assumed maybe there's some backstory there, even though he didn't seem to care for him. Maybe that was his way of showing I care about you. I don't know.
Yeah?
But yeah, 4 out of 5 seems fair. I love the film. I grew up with it. I still love it today. I got super excited, more than I should at my age, to find that film in 4K, and I immediately bought it. So there's that.
Fair enough. I'm going to be about a little bit lower. I'm going to just be about 4 stars. I liked the movie. I really had fun with it. I would have taken out the first scene of the little kid buying the alligator and just kept that mystery element going with it. Yeah. Or if they're going to use that little girl, have her become the love interest.
Yeah.
For Robert
Forster's
Forster's
just
character.
Transition from that, yeah.
It could have just built it up a little bit more better. But the effects were a lot of fun. The alligator chopping sequences were great. This is a movie that I thought would scare me. Didn't scare me as much. Probably would scare me more if I was a little kid. I think I avoided this movie because it reminded me too much of Jaws. And Jaws, when I was a little kid, just terrified the hell out of me. So anytime there was an animal of eating people, I'm like, nope, not going through that again. So, but yeah, overall, good solid 4 stars. I know I had to rent this movie online. I don't think it's available on any streaming networks just yet. Who actually owns that 4K Blu-ray? Who does that one?
That was done by Shout Factory.
Okay.
So Scream Factory is what you'd have to look up for, but yeah.
Okay, so definitely get the 4K Blu-ray. It's got commentary by, I guess, the director or anyone else.
Oh, yeah. It's got the director. It also has Robert Forster's on there as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
And it's hosted by a fan, I believe, who's coordinating the whole thing. But
oh, very cool. Very cool indeed. So that's our review of the movie Alligator. Donnie, tell the listeners out there anything new and exciting happening in your world that you want to plug?
I upset a writer, apparently, but he's a very cool person, so I'm glad to know that he didn't mind me crapping on his movie. But otherwise, I really have a lot going on still. I'm still putting together, step by step, a new podcast. I'm getting the second chapter in the Deep Sea Anthology underway. I just finished writing it and editing it, so I just got to get the voice talent and everything together for that. You can find me on Twitter as Unreal Goals. That's also where you'll find me on YouTube as well. And otherwise, you'll find me just kind of rummaging through the sewers looking for alligators.
Sounds good. As for Cinema Recall, we are still in the midst of doing our contest that's going from now until the end of April, where you can win copies of Spider-Man No Way Home on 4K Blu-ray or 2 months to the Criterion channel. You can find links about that in the show's description on our main website, cinemarecall.net. I do know that we are going to, I think by the time you'll hear this recording on the main feed, Ashley and I will have already done our episode about Bruce Willis movies and talking about all of our favorite movies and performances and shows and music that Bruce Willis has done throughout the years. And we are working right now, members. It's not set in stone just yet, but we're working on trying to get the cast of Heathers the Musical to be on our live show. So keep an eye out for that. Also, Donnie and a whole bunch of other great people are going to return to be cast members for an all-new Clue audio drama that I will be producing and putting together, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. I've had these cats on for our Night of the Living Dead audio drama, which you can definitely find on our website. I believe it's under season 4, if I imagine right. So yeah, check that out as well. And I'm actually going to leave right now. I was going to do this earlier, but I forgot to. I'm actually going to leave you right now with an ad spot of a podcast that I just started listening to called A Good Day to Podcast. So I'm going to leave you right now with their ad spot. Huge thank you, as always, to Mr. Donnie Roberts for introducing me to these wild, crazy movies, and I'm very thankful and I'm excited there. As always, before I do go, I gotta give a shout out to our wonderful Patreon supporters. Of course, patreon.com/cinemarecallpod. Without these cats, I would be lost. And so, no special order here. I gotta thank Mr. Jason Soto from Whatever with Jason Soto. Oh, by the way, check out the episode that our wonderful co-host producer Ashley was on. That was a lot of fun. So rabbitholepodcast.com, check out that episode of Whatever. Then I gotta thank Matt and Ashley from Mashley at the Movies. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Then I also gotta thank Jeanette Mickenham from AKA Jeanette. Thank you very much. I gotta thank our good buddy Chris Revel of Let's Chat with Chris Revel. Thank you very much for that. Miss Linda Castro from Bedknobs and Broomflits, and thank you very much. And we have with us Harvey Andrus from our band, Your Ex-Girlfriend. We actually have our first show happening, and there should be video of that by the time this episode airs, so thank you very much, Harvey. And last but not least, you, Donnie Roberts, who has helped me so much with expanding my movie horizons.
It's what we're here for.
And I'm sure you'll have more things too, and I'm like, this movie...
Oh, yes.
What I love about the movies that you recommended to me, because you recommended the movie Freaked before, and now this. And each time you recommend a movie, Donnie, I'm thinking, this is going to be stupid and dumb. I'm going to hate this. And then I turned out, that was pretty goddamn good.
Yeah. I find little nuggets now and then, so yeah.
Sweet. So thank you very much. Thank you for listening, everybody. And we will see you shortly. Goodbye.
Bye.
Hey listeners, it's Duncan from GDT Podcast, here to tell you about our show. On GDT Podcast, it's always a good day to talk about movies. Hosted by Gardner, Duncan, and Taryn, we discuss movies we love and interview independent filmmakers. Join us for in-depth interviews with your favorite independent filmmakers, like Jim Burkett, creator of Coherence, Greg Sestero from The Room, and many, many more. If you're interested in independent movies, or want to make your own film, this is the podcast for you. Check out our show anywhere you listen to podcasts by searching the letters G, D, T, and follow us on Twitter @GoodDataPod.